The afternoon sun filtered through the thin cotton curtains, casting soft golden streaks across the living room floor. The house was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that settles when people live together but no longer truly speak. In the kitchen, an elderly woman moved slowly, her sari palu tucked neatly at her waist as she reached for a steel container on the top shelf. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear but from age, from years of holding this home together with those same hands. Her name was Savitri, 72 years old. A mother. A widow. A woman who had once been the heartbeat of this house. She stretched on her toes, fingertips brushing the container's edge. Just a little more. But her balance wavered. Her foot slipped on the smooth marble floor. And then she fell. The sound was sharp. A dull thud followed by the clatter of steel hitting tile. Pain shot through her hip, her wrist. She gasped, her breath shallow and shaky. For a moment she lay there, staring up at the ceiling fan spinning lazily above her, its hum the only reply to her silence. Help someone. Her voice was barely a whisper. But the house wasn't empty. From the hallway, footsteps approached, slow, deliberate. Savitri turned her head, hope flickering in her chest. Maybe her son. Maybe someone who cared. But it was her daughter-in-law. Priya stood at the kitchen doorway, arms folded across her chest. She was young, beautiful in a cold sort of way, her hair tied back in a sleek ponytail. Her eyes swept over the scene, the fallen mother-in-law, the scattered utensils, the trembling hands trying to push up from the floor. And then she smiled. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. Just a faint curve at the corner of her lips, a smile that said, finally. Savitri's heart sank deeper than her body ever could. Priya beta, please. Priya didn't move. She leaned against the doorframe, tilting her head slightly, as if watching something mildly entertaining. Seconds passed. 10. 20. The silence between them was louder than any scream. Finally Priya spoke, her voice honey-sweet and sharp as glass. You know, Ma, you really should be more careful at your age. She turned and walked away, her footsteps fading into the other room. Savitri lay there, the cold floor pressing against her cheek, tears pooling at the corners of her eyes. The pain in her body was nothing compared to the ache in her chest. She had raised a son. She had built this home. She had given everything. And now she was alone on the floor of her own kitchen, invisible. It took her nearly 10 minutes to pull herself up, gripping the counter edge with shaking hands, biting back groans of pain. Her wrist throbbed. Her hips screamed. But louder than both was the question that echoed in her mind. How did it come to this? When her son Arif came home that evening, she said nothing. She served him dinner in silence, her movements slower than usual, her face a mask of calm. He noticed the bruise on her wrist but didn't ask. Priya sat beside him, scrolling through her phone, occasionally laughing at something on the screen. No one asked if she was okay. No one ever did anymore. That night, as Savitri lay in her small room at the far end of the house, the room she'd been given after Priya moved in, she stared at the ceiling and let the memories flood back. Memories of a different time. A time when this house was filled with love, laughter, and a little boy who called her Ma with his whole heart. She closed her eyes and the past began to speak. 30 years ago, this house didn't exist. Neither did the comfort, the security, the life her son now lived so easily. Back then there was only struggle, and Savitri, a young widow with a 6-year-old boy and a heart full of fear. Her husband had died suddenly. A heart attack at 40. No savings. No insurance. Just debts and a rented room in a crumbling building where the walls sweated in the monsoon, and the roof leaked through the winter. Arif had cried for weeks, asking when Papa would come home. Savitri had no answer. She only held him tighter, whispering promises she didn't know if she could keep. I'll take care of you, Beta. Promise. We'll be okay. But how? She was a housewife. She had no degree, no job, no skills the world considered valuable. All she had were her hands and her will. So she worked. She stitched clothes for neighbors. She cleaned homes. She tutored children in the evenings. She took any job that paid, no matter how small, no matter how exhausting. Some days she would return home with blistered fingers and aching feet, collapse on the floor, and cry silently while Arif slept beside her. But she never let him see. In the mornings she would smile. She would cook him breakfast, sometimes just rice and dal, But she'd make it special, sprinkling a little sugar on top, calling it a sweet surprise. He would giggle and eat, unaware that she often skipped meals so there would be enough for him. Years passed. Arv grew. He studied hard, encouraged by his mother's relentless belief in him. She told him stories of great men who rose from nothing. She told him he was special. She told him he could be anything. And he believed her. When he got into a good school, she sold her wedding jewelry to pay the fees. When he needed books, she worked double shifts. When he wanted to join coaching classes for engineering, she borrowed money from relatives who looked down on her but couldn't refuse her tears. Every sacrifice was silent. Every tear was hidden. But her love was loud. Arv did well. He got into a top engineering college. Savitri's heart soared. She attended his graduation alone, sitting in the back row, her sari old and faded, but her smile brighter than the sun. After college, Arv got a job, a good one, in the city. The money started coming in. For the first time in decades, Savitri could breathe. They rented a better place. Then, a few years later, they bought a small house. Their house. The one she dreamed of. The one she bled for. She remembered the day they moved in. Arv had hugged her tightly, his voice thick with emotion. "Ma, this is all because of you. I'll never forget that." She had wept in his arms, feeling, for the first time in so long, that it had all been worth it. But then Arv got married. Priya was beautiful, educated, confident. Savitri had liked her at first. She thought, finally, my son will have a partner. Someone to share his life with. Someone who will love him as I do. She didn't realize she was about to lose him. At first, the changes were small. Priya suggested they renovate the house. Make it modern. Savitri agreed. Priya wanted separate rooms. Savitri agreed. Priya said she preferred cooking her own way. Savitri stepped back. Bit by bit, she was pushed to the edges of the home she had built. Arv noticed but said nothing. He was caught between two women, his mother and his wife, and chose the path of least resistance, silence. Priya's politeness faded. The sweet daughter-in-law became distant, then cold, then cruel. Savitri told herself it was adjustment, that it would pass, that love would return. But it didn't. And now, lying on the floor of her own kitchen, abandoned and in pain, she realized the truth. She had given everything to build this life. And somehow, she had become invisible in it. The cruelty didn't come all at once. It crept in slowly, like a shadow growing longer as the sun sets. At first it was just small things Savitri tried to ignore, tried to excuse, tried to forgive. Priya stopped asking her opinion about meals. Then stopped inviting her to the dinner table. Savitri would eat alone in the kitchen, reheating leftovers while laughter echoed from the living room where Arv and Priya watched TV together. When guests came over, Priya introduced herself and Arv. Savitri, sitting quietly in the corner, was often overlooked, or worse, introduced with a casual, dismissive wave. "Oh, that's Ma. She mostly keeps to herself." It was a lie. But no one corrected it. Savitri tried to stay helpful. She woke early to prepare tea, only to find Priya had already made it, for two. She offered to help with cleaning, but Priya would say, "It's fine, Ma. You rest. You're old now." Old. The word stung more each time. One evening, Savitri asked Arv if they could go to the temple together, like they used to. He hesitated, glanced at Priya. Maybe next week, Ma. We're a bit busy." Priya didn't even look up from her phone. They never went. The mockery came next. Subtle at first, a raised eyebrow when Savitri asked a question, a sigh when she spoke too long. Then it became words. Priya would mimic her accent when talking to friends, laughing as though it were harmless fun. She'd complain loudly about old-fashioned thinking whenever Savitri offered advice. And Arv? He stayed silent. One night, Savitri overheard them in their bedroom. "She's always hovering, Arv. I can't breathe in my own house." "Priya, she's just trying to help." "Help? She's suffocating. I didn't get married to live with a third wheel." Silence. Then Arv's voice, quieter, weaker. "I'll talk to her." But he never did. Instead, the distance grew. He stopped sitting with her in the evenings, stopped asking about her day. When she spoke, his eyes would glaze over, his mind elsewhere. Savitri felt herself shrinking. She began to stay in her room more, coming out only when necessary. She stopped cooking, stopped offering help, stopped trying, because every time she tried, she was reminded, "You are not wanted here." The final blow came on her birthday. She didn't expect much, maybe a small acknowledgement, a cake, a shared meal. She had raised Arv to remember these things. He always had. But that morning he left for work without a word. Priya stayed in her room. The house was silent. Savitri sat alone at the dining table, staring at the calendar on the wall, her name circled in red ink, by her own hand. No one remembered. She didn't cry. There were no tears left. Just a hollow ache, a quiet acceptance that she had become a ghost in her own home. That evening, Priya ordered pizza for herself and Arif. They ate in front of the TV laughing at some show. Savitri reheated rice in the kitchen and ate standing by the counter, her back to them. When she went to bed that night, she lay in the darkness and whispered to herself, "How did I become a burden?" She thought of all the years she had sacrificed. The meals she'd skipped. The nights she'd cried. The dreams she'd buried so her son could rise. And now he barely looked at her. Priya had won. Not with violence. Not with shouting. But with something far more effective. Slow, silent erasure. Savitri had become invisible. And in a house full of people, she had never felt more alone. But fate, as it often does, was watching. And it was about to turn the wheel. It happened on a Thursday morning. The kind of ordinary day that changes everything. Priya was in the living room, rushing to get ready for a friend's party. She was on her phone, texting, laughing at something, her heels clicking impatiently on the floor. She reached for her handbag on the couch, too quickly, too carelessly. Her foot caught the edge of the rug, and she fell. Hard. The sound was sharp. A gasp, a crash, then a scream. Arif! Arif! He was still getting ready in the bedroom. Savitri, however, was in the kitchen. She heard it instantly, the cry, the panic. And despite everything, despite the coldness, despite the cruelty, her body moved on instinct. She rushed into the living room, her heart pounding. Priya was on the floor, clutching her ankle, her face twisted in pain. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "It hurts. Oh God, it hurts." For a moment Savitri stood frozen. She remembered her own fall. The silence. The smile. She could walk away. She could let Priya feel what she had felt. But she didn't. "Beta, don't move. Let me see." Priya looked up, eyes wide, shocked. She hadn't expected this. Savitri knelt beside her, ignoring the pain in her own joints, and gently examined the ankle. It was swelling fast. "We need ice. And we need to get you to a doctor." Arav finally appeared, panic written all over his face. "What happened?" "She's hurt her ankle. Help me get her to the sofa." Together they lifted Priya carefully. Savitri brought ice, wrapped it in a towel, and placed it gently on the injury. She spoke softly, soothingly. "It's okay. You'll be okay." Priya stared at her, unable to speak. Guilt, sharp and suffocating, filled her chest. This woman, the woman she had mocked, ignored, humiliated, was now the one caring for her. Arv called a doctor. While they waited, Savitri stayed by Priya's side, adjusting the ice, offering water, asking if she needed anything. Her hands were gentle. Her voice was kind. It was unbearable. Priya's tears weren't just from pain anymore. They were from shame. When the doctor finally came and confirmed it was a bad sprain, no fracture, but she'd need rest and care for weeks, Arav thanked him and saw him out. Savitri helped Priya to the bedroom, made sure she was comfortable, and quietly left. That night, Priya lay in bed staring at the ceiling. Her ankle throbbed, but it was nothing compared to the weight pressing on her heart. She replayed the moment in her mind, the fall, the fear, and then Savitri's face. Not angry, not vengeful, just concerned. Arav sat beside her, holding her hand. "Ma really helped today," he said quietly. Priya closed her eyes. "I know. I don't think I've been fair to her." Priya's throat tightened. "Neither have I." For the first time, the truth hung between them, heavy and undeniable. Arav thought back to all the times his mother had sat alone. The birthdays forgotten. The silence. The way she'd faded into the background of the life she had built for him. And he had let it happen. Tears welled in his eyes. "I've been a terrible son." Priya didn't argue. She couldn't, because she knew she'd been worse. The next few days were different. Priya couldn't walk much. She needed help, getting to the bathroom, getting food, getting through the pain. And every time it was Savitri who came. Not with resentment, not with bitterness, just with quiet, steady love. She brought meals to the bedside. She helped Priya sit up. She adjusted pillows, brought medicine, and sat with her when the nights were long and painful. Priya watched her, this woman she had dismissed, and felt something crack open inside her. One afternoon, while Savitri was helping her to the living room, Priya finally broke. "Ma, stop." Savitri paused, concerned. "Are you in pain, Beta?" "No. I can't do this." "Do what?" Priya's voice shook. "I can't let you be kind to me. Not after everything I've done." Savitri's eyes softened. She gently set Priya down on the sofa and sat beside her. Priya's tears came fast and hard. "I was horrible to you. I ignored you. I mocked you. I smiled when you fell." Her voice broke. "And you still helped me. Why?" Savitri was quiet for a long moment. Then she reached out and took Priya's hand. "Because, Beta, cruelty doesn't heal cruelty. And I didn't raise my son or build this home to fill it with bitterness." Priya sobbed. "I'm so sorry, Ma. I'm so sorry." Savitri squeezed her hand. "I know. I don't deserve your forgiveness." "Maybe not yet," Savitri said gently. "But you can earn it." Priya looked up, red-eyed, hopeful. "By remembering this moment. By choosing kindness. By treating people, especially those who've loved you, with the respect they deserve." Priya nodded, unable to speak. When Arav came home that evening, he found them sitting together. Talking. Really talking. Later that night, he sat with his mother in her small room. "Ma." She looked up from her book. "I'm sorry." Her eyes glistened. "Beta." "No, Ma. Let me say it." His voice cracked. "I forgot. I forgot everything you did for me. I forgot how you built this life. I let you become invisible. And I will regret that for the rest of my life." Tears rolled down his cheeks. Savitri cupped his face in her hands. "You didn't forget, Beta. You just got lost. But you found your way back. I don't deserve you." She smiled softly. "You're my son. You don't have to deserve my love. You already have it." In the weeks that followed, the house changed. Priya recovered slowly, and with each day she made small efforts. Arav started coming home earlier. Savitri bloomed again. One evening, as the three of them sat together for dinner, laughing, sharing stories, Priya said, "Ma, thank you for teaching me what strength really looks like." Savitri smiled. "We all fall, Beta. What matters is whether we help each other get back up." Arav reached across the table and held both their hands. "This is what home should feel like," he said quietly. And for the first time in years it did. Respect isn't something you earn by age, status, or sacrifice. It's something you give, freely, kindly, humbly, to every soul who crosses your path. Because in the end, the way we treat others isn't just a reflection of who they are. It's a reflection of who we are. And when we choose kindness, even in the face of cruelty, we don't just change a moment. We change a life. Sometimes we change our own.